That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
Oh no, nothing really comes to mind. I was like, shing. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler. They call these things. America rejected them, and instead of coming back and saying we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game.
You've never seen Sunny this shaken. Tyrus came in with the receipts. Greg Gutfeld delivered his signature sarcasm, and Sunny, she crumbled under the pressure. If you thought daytime TV was a safe zone, think again. This verbal smackdown on the O. View nearly flipped the table. Sunny Hostin just got roasted so hard by Tyrus and Gutfeld, she might be dialing up her lawyer for Fox.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners.
At that ever-familiar table, Sunny, cloaked in righteous indignation, seemed ready to deliver yet another lecture, as if auditioning for a tenured spot at Woke University in the Department of Performative Outrage. But instead of applause, she found herself face-to-face with a full-course reality check, courtesy of Tyrus from an entirely different studio, and Greg Gutfeld's razor-edged wit. One moment, she was confidently declaring her opinion as the only one that mattered. The next, her monologue was making the rounds online as a meme titled, "When Delusion Meets Data."
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate.
This isn't the first time Sunny's turned her seat on The View into a personal confessional, unprompted and overly dramatic. Like she's chronicling the collapse of society over mimosas. While she wagged fingers from her daytime soapbox, Tyrus came armed with receipts that shredded her storyline like it was printed on tissue paper. And as for Gutfeld, Sunny should have packed sunscreen. He didn't even need to set foot in the studio to completely scorch her argument.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sunny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. But when oh no, nothing really comes to mind, I was like, shing. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler. They call these things. America rejected them, and instead of coming back and saying we lied, they instead are now double.
Because Sunny sees herself as the gatekeeper of all legitimate opinions, where anyone who disagrees is either confused, brainwashed, or just tragically not on the guest list for her book club. She once famously suggested that some voters of color couldn't possibly understand their own political choices unless they mirrored hers. But the problem with constantly preaching from a moral high horse is that eventually, someone's going to kick out the stilts. And that's exactly what Gutfeld and Tyrus did. Without ever stepping foot on the set, they lobbed inconvenient truths from the sidelines, while Sunny flailed like someone who accidentally brought a foam bat to a chainsaw fight.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, let's check out this clip from Monday's episode of The View when the ladies put their science caps on and discuss the solar eclipse.
What made this The View moment so remarkable was how effortlessly the illusion cracked under pressure. With rehearsed nods, theatrical sighs, and vacant stares, the co-hosts clung to their script like actors in a play called Delusion. It wasn't a conversation, it was a tap dance, where criticism was dodged, reality was evaded, and emotion-laced slogans took the place of substance.
Oh, nothing really comes to mind. I was like, shit-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They called him Hitler, they called these things. America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game all.
Tyrus and Gutfeld didn't just crash The View, they dismantled it. With calm, razor-sharp reality checks, they unraveled Sunny's monologue into a scattered scramble, sidestepping the show's usual theatrics. No shouting, no chaos, just steady, surgical logic that exposed the panel's fragile script for what it was. The result? A rare moment of unfiltered honesty on daytime TV, and a table left in stunned silence.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
Is people have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. So, but the problem with her is that she went full racist.
Fueled by passion but light on facts, Sunny dove into one of her usual fiery, fact-free rants about crime and policing. Then Gutfeld stepped in, calm, sardonic, and backed by hard stats, dropping a cutting one-liner about activists who use private security while campaigning to defund the police. The room fell silent. Sunny looked stunned, as if her script had vanished mid-sentence, because in that moment it had.
It's not even that. In The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sunny, and was it Bette Midler? What's her name? The broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a...
Tyrus calmly laid out hard data on violence in underfunded cities, then peeled back the hypocrisy of celebrities preaching community safety, while quietly hiring off-duty police for personal protection. He delivered it all with the ease of someone who's repeated the truth to audiences, too distracted by TikTok to care. The tone on The View shifted instantly to full-blown damage control after Gutfeld followed up with a knockout line. Sunny scrambled to recover with vague talking points, but it was clear. The case had already collapsed. Tyrus had sealed it with quiet, crushing clarity on live television.
Is that you have to go after the racist people, and if the CEO goes, you know what, I'm not going to allow a woman on my show, or man, that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racists on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day, that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Sunny's polished media narrative was cleanly cut through by Tyrus's raw, street-level truth. He didn't just challenge her views, he exposed the privilege beneath them, making it painfully obvious that she's far removed from the working-class voices she claims to represent. With one calm, devastating line, "You don't speak for people in the trenches when your biggest concern is brunch with Ana Navarro," he dismantled her credibility in real time. Joy panicked, Sunny froze, and The View spiraled into a stunned, chaotic silence.